Hi everyone, I have not done a tag in a long while, and so I decided to do this. This is the deck creator tag that I saw on Julie's channel, but it's actually from Ton, and I will link his video below. The decks you see right here are two decks that I have created. This is my first deck, which is the Tarot of Passing Showers, and I think about 4 to 5 years, actually 5 years, more than 5 years later, I came up with this oracle deck. It was actually meant to be named as the Paradigm Shift Oracle, but I have changed the name. What you are seeing here is the prototype, so there are a lot of changes already. It is now known as the Oracle of Shifting Degrees. If you look at these two decks side by side, you'll notice that the themes are also there's a very different tone to it. I am not sure how this deck is like for people, since I just launched the deck, and I do not think that this would garner much interest, so I do not know as well what people think about this deck. The first question is, what made you create this deck? The Tarot of Passing Showers was like an idea that came much later after some of the drawings in the deck was done. So someone in the tarot community here encouraged me to create my own deck, and while I was doing Inktober 1 year, I decided to just like since I have some of these ink drawings and some of the themes that were given seem to fit, I can kind of insert my own tarot theme art into the drawings. So I thought, why not just use Inktober as part of the motivation to continue doing my deck. So I look up some of the drawings that I have done in the last few Inktober's, and I decided to just pick up some of them and put in more during this year's Inktober and create a deck. So after the Inktober was done, there was still quite a lot of drawings that weren't done, so it became something out of the Inktober realm, but I still kept to the Inktober horror themes involved. That is why my decks actually I have been told that it is scary. Yeah, so yeah. And then for the oracle, it was an idea that was floated to me by somebody I know as well in real life. So it became a project, and since it came out during the time of the pandemic, I thought that I was quite sad during that time. So I thought that doing something, a project, would help me take my mind off how the world is like and how the future is like for me. The second question is, what tools do you use? Photoshop, pens. Yep, you can see that this is the original drawing for the tarot. So it is done by ballpoint pen on a very scrappy book. So I had to Photoshop away all the things that got into the scanning and affected the cuts. So during the later stage of the project, I pivoted to using ballpoint pen because I realized that it gave me a lot more shading that I preferred. Earlier works were done more with black markers, and so there weren't much shading involved except for cross hatching. After I did the ink drawing, I scanned them out into Photoshop to digitally color it. That is why you will see that there's this kind of a watercolor effect on the paint, on the drawings. So I painted it in Photoshop, and I used a kind of a watercolor brush to give that softer effect. Yeah. So this is the words at the bottom of the cards using pencil, those drawing pencils with, I think this would be a 6R pencil. And then for the oracle itself, it is done on postcard that is more of a watercolor quality. So I use a lot more watercolors, colored inks, color pencil, watercolor pencil, because for color ink is actually the first time that I use this medium, because I know that color inks, there is a kind of a transparency effect, and for example in this you will see that you can see some overlapping. So this is what I wanted to achieve. However, for the post-processing, I have to do a lot of digital painting over the original art, because on paper you will see that the effect is very soft, but that's also because the edges are not clearly defined. So when it got scanned into the computer, lots of details were lost, and so I have to repaint a lot of them back. So for example, side by side, you will see that there's a slight color difference. This is because some details were not picked up nicely through the scanner. Third question: how long did you take and how did you organize yourself? So for this deck, because it was done over a few Inktober, and outside of Inktober, it took about two years plus, and then I took about 1 week to finish digitally painting everything. So it took 2 to 3 years. And for this deck, it took very quickly to finish painting, because during the pandemic there's not much to do, like to go outside for, and I desperately wanted to concentrate on something to not make my mind wander. So I finished the painting within a few months, but the post-processing took a very long time. I think about another few more months to finish everything. And then I had this prototype maybe 2 to 3 years back, and then this project was kept in a storage because I was not sure if I wanted to bring this to the world. And it was only until this year that I decided to just bring it into the world. And so I made some more changes, and I took a few more months to clean up the edges to make the painting even more clearer and more defined than it has been at this in this prototype. So I would say that the whole process took maybe 5 years, but it was more of waiting and finding the right time to manifest this into the world. As for organizing, I This for the tarot deck, it did not take much organizing because this was done mostly during the Inktober, where I drew a few drawings per week. But after that, outside of Inktober, I took time to go out and sit at a cafe to continue drawing. Yeah, and for the oracle deck, nothing much. There's no need to organize because I was already at home and I can just sit down and just let my mind and hands go on by itself. So what kind of system are my decks based on? So for the tarot, it is RWS and also the Thoth system, whereas for the oracle, there's no system at all. In fact, I would see this more like altar cards or cards to meditate on, so there's really not much system. And I would guess that the art itself is more abstract, so the only system itself is how you view the art. Yeah, I will answer the next question of availability for others, as well as and the last question, where do I have future plans? So first, these two decks are all make playing cards. I'm very I am lucky to put this the tarot deck out at a time where there's still much more interest in the occult. So there were sales made, but during this time for the oracle deck, I know that the interest has mostly died down, and also because of the state of the world, it is much more difficult to get things shipped. So I think both are passion projects to me. If people appreciate it, I'm very happy. But I do not have any future decks or plans because I feel that my art isn't something that is much more I would put my art as not something that is useful for others, I guess. It is indeed much more difficult to find the motivation to pick up my pen and draw nowadays. But to answer the question of how has my decks affected or enriched my life, I feel that what it has done is I very much enjoy the process of drawing the deck. Maybe not the post-processing parts, not including that, as well as to advertise the decks. I do not enjoy those two, but I really enjoy the process of painting, sitting down and draw and plan. So if you can see, for example, I do a bit of a sketching here and write down ideas. I like writing down ideas, then drawing and slowly hold the pen in my hand and start to draw and start to apply pressure. So this process of drawing helps me to put my mind at ease by concentrating on the motions itself and not looking at the world, because the world is a difficult place to be in. And that is also the same for the paintings. So this is, you do not see the sketch here, but when I take out my painting materials and I start to paint, and when I start to make mistakes, I enjoy the process. So it's not the decks itself that enrich my own processes, but how I sit down and slowly do all these art pieces that helped me realize that I really much love drawing, and drawing is and always will be a very big part of my life, even though now I find it much harder to get inspiration, to be inspired, and to sit down and draw. I will always love the process of drawing, and this is important to me. The end products are not so important. So I hope you'll enjoy this short video. Bye.